CEOism Pod with Carlo Scaglia, young guy, young founder, successful guy, interesting guy. He's been at Exordi for more than 2 years. He's also a founder in residence at Launch House. So I'm going to interview the co-founder of Launch House in a week or so. That's how I discovered you, Carlo, by the way. He's at Founder Institute. We're both there, accelerator program. Young guy, and he spent some time in Cannes, I guess, accelerator stuff, which you might want to tell us about there. He also does jiu-jitsu. Complex and interesting person right there. Carlo, can you tell us a bit more about yourself, what you're up to nowadays?
For sure, and thanks for having me on this. So I've been with Exordi for close to 2 years now, and I think I had a bit of a rogue start to it. I used to come from the skiing world, and then I got into retail consulting, and essentially those two experiences identified the problem that led me to Exordi. And I think at first I was a bit hesitant to go down the startup route, because I think in my young age, I was a bit like, is this good? Do I know enough about the industry? Do I have enough experience to tackle certain problems? But then I was like, you know what, screw it, whatever. Might as well go down it. And it just turned into a growing snowball. Ended up going through Founder Institute Accelerator first, which was really, really good being a first-time founder, because it meant I could iron out all of the initial mistakes. Then went to market after that one, went to Launch House for a month in LA, which was really cool. Met some amazing people there. And then things really kept on growing. And now lately this year, we went to the Cannes Advertising Festival, which is mainly where we got most of our clients, which I know you pointed it out. But otherwise, yeah, that's how I got into the startup world.
And are you more a Leonardo da Vinci or a Machiavelli?
That's a very complex question. What do you mean by, I understand the Machiavelli part. What do you mean by the Leonardo da Vinci part?
I thought it would be the other way around. The Da Vinci part is more easier in your case, because it's like Renaissance man, you cook, you do sports, you do a bunch of things. Machiavelli, yeah, pretty easy also, yeah. But I don't think you're that Machiavellian, but yeah, what do you think on your side?
I think I have a mix of both, in the sense that the artistry, the Da Vinci side, I think a lot of people get lost with Da Vinci being just as a painter, as a creative part, but actually he was a very, very good engineer. He was a product man. He built a lot of different structures like the catapult, and I think his focus on product, on structure, and on efficiency, I like to resonate with that part. I think inherently every founder has an element of Machiavelli in him or her, because of the attitude that you need in this. It's a lonely world. It's hard. It's very hard. You've got to fight a lot of your own battles. You've got to walk alone. You've got to make a lot of your own decisions by yourself. And I think that takes a bit of a mentality. And then when you look at the very big successful guys, from Zuck to Elon to Jeff Bezos and stuff, they've always been pictured in a bit of a odd characteristic. And I think if you're to dig a little bit with them, you'll find a slight Machiavellian attitude.
Interesting, because Machiavellian to me is like tactics. It's like stealth startups. It's like operating from a war battlefield perspective pretty much all the time. It's more win-lose, right? I tend to view it that way. While the best approach typically in startups and in life is win-win. Well, that's my personal opinion, showing your cards and being open.
Well, Machiavelli was more known around the element of deception. And if you want to give it the bad word, I guess, double-faced, in the sense that you deceive one entity to then get what you want. But in a startup context, it's called fake it till you make it. So, you sometimes deceive on the value they can provide to land client, to land investment, to land something. And that's something we saw loads, I think, up until a year and a half ago, which is why the market valuations were so high. There was a lot of fake it till you make it, and then everything just came crashing down.
Tell us more about that crash.
I think, well, it was quite evident from a money point of view, but there were those massive valuations. The market was very healthy. And you saw it across everything, anything from mortgage rates to, I guess, more personally, startup valuations. And you were seeing people raise massive rounds at massive valuations. And that came crashing down. Like, look at a lot of the buy now, pay later startups. They had to do insane down rounds. We all know which one I'm talking about, but they had to drop their valuation by 89%, all because they raised that a lot, but then when it came to the actual fruit of it, the returns were just not that big, and so they had to drop their valuations. And which is now in startups, we're seeing, I think, a more healthy approach with VCs and investors actually looking at profitability. So I think that was the shift.
I mean, back to the win-lose mentality, I'm a chess player and I uninstalled the app not so long ago because first it was pushing serotonin loops in my brain. I didn't want to, but also chess is really much I win and you lose, and kind of don't like that. You do jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu often is compared to chess. It's like a chess match. So do you think I was right to give up that, or if I should go all in with win-win, or is there some instances where win-lose can also bring points to your life?
I'm also a chess player, so I like it. I like the two. I like the comparison between jiu-jitsu and chess. But I think, ideal outcome obviously is win-win. Everyone gets to win. But truth is, we all have our own self-interest. We have a vested interest. So in any win-win situation, there is, say we create a partnership and it's a referral scheme, it's a win-win. But you will always look for something that would benefit you, because at the end of the day, no matter what you do, and especially in startups, and especially if you pick a SaaS platform, there has to be one winner. So in a win-lose situation, you might as well be the winner. And in jiu-jitsu, it's a competition. So there's only two outcomes, a win or a loss. There's very, very, very ever a draw. So you might as well be the winner.
Right. And I think a good answer to that question also is the perspective, right? It's not because you lose in jiu-jitsu that you lost, you've learned various techniques and so forth. Same in chess. I mean, if it would only be win-lose, why don't you play a bot? Well, you would get your ass kicked all the time, A chess is to have fun. It's me, I use it to make comparison in the business life as well. I'm pretty sure you do too. I want to get to your platform, your SaaS that you're building. I mean, it's quite trendy, right? World's best creators at your fingertip. I think it can scale. I think it can be somewhat quite successful. Tell us a bit more about the business and where do you intend to take it?
Well, it's born out of a premise that the advertising world, especially on digital side that we live in now, is just broken, really, really old. It's still that. I'm not sure if you've ever seen Mad Men, but it's still what's depicted in Mad Men that's portraying a world from 40 years ago. And it's such a long, expensive, loopholey process that involves so many different people and tech layers, which is why the metrics are still really, really low. Like you look at an average click-through rate that sits at 1%, and a brand is ecstatic when they hit like 2% click-through rate. Now imagine if you were to go to your boss or any other business and say, yeah, so we have a 2% ROI in all our investments. Your company would fail tomorrow. And if you think that only 4% of ads are relevant, again, go to your boss and tell them, yeah, by the way, only 4% of our strategies work. Again, you would not survive. Yet the advertising world is somehow okay with it. Now, our belief is that essentially the advertising process stayed the same, and then people have only built ad tech layers on top of it to complicate the process. Now, in a potentially cookieless world, that's going to get even more complicated. So what Exordi does is kind of strip that all the way back and says, well, we believe that people, so a brand's own target audience, are the best vehicle to create the ads because they know the brand better than anyone else. They know how to portray it. They know how to show it in a relevant way that's more than just like, here's a nice product. And then they're also the best vehicle to communicate it because first and foremost, they're the users. So they will tell other people what they like about it, how they interpret it, how they live it. And so me as a consumer, if all of a sudden I see 20 people, 50 people, 100 people producing ads and talking about a brand that they love, I'm a lot more aligned to purchase it than just an ad that's been bought by a machine.
Yep, premise is right. I wrote yesterday that to me it looks pretty obvious that anyone in the future is going to be an influencer in some sense, or maybe that's biased because I'm strongly entrepreneurial. But I think anyone consuming something and having an audience, aka friends and a community, will be enticed to pitch a product and get a rev share as part of it. And eventually, if they do it that well, even shares of the company itself. So I can't wait until that platform's available. I really love your website. I really love the images. Who's in charge of that?
Well, we have a network of, just says there, the world's best creators that range from photographers, video makers, and now thanks to a partnership with Elite World Look, also the best models and influencers there. So we have an ecosystem of essentially, as we say, the world's best creators, and they lead the creative part.
I want to use your platform. How much would you charge me, for example?
Right now, because we're early, we're still working on commission basis, but pretty much now from September until December, we'll be running four more campaigns off the back of the results that we had with Sonos, which was cool because the average engagement rate sits at 3%, but with our campaigns, we brought it up to 21%. So we'll continue that trend, then do a bigger raise around February time, March time, and then implement a subscription model where we'll be sitting around about like $1,000 a month to use the platform.
Okay, when you say commission, you calculate how much the campaign has driven and you give a part to the influencer slash creator?
Yeah, creators and influencers actually get the vast majority of it. We just get the end tail of it. And once we go to subscription, our aim is to give 100% of campaign fees to the creators. So we'll be the only ones to actually do that. And we'll just monetize off of the subscription side.
All right. So let's say that the brand pays 100K. You will give 20K to the influencer and take 1 to 2K as a platform?
No, the client will pay. Oh, sorry. Now you're saying as a commission basis. Yeah.
Yes.
So commission base, we take 20%. But when we move to subscription, the client will only pay $1,000 a month. And then that 100K can go straight to the creators.
100K to the creators. Wow.
So we wouldn't be taking any margin away from them.
How much would the brand be making on that campaign? $1 million to pay back 100K?
Depends what their objective is on the campaign, but you know, if you spend $100,000 and you already get back $200,000, you've already made it back twice. So depends on.
Yes and no. I mean, if you're selling a Breitling, your margins are somewhat thin. I would guess your profit margins are around 40%. And if you give a big fat margin to that, there might be other channels that are more attractive. Although these brands have a boatload of money, right, to invest, and a part of it is allocated to creators.
That's true. I mean, there's a really, really good platform that we use. So shout out to them, called Media Radar. And they're excellent at breaking down the information and statistics of the spend of where all these companies are going. And you can see that all of them are increasing from 30 to 50% yearly on digital spend. And so it's all going into digital content.
So you failed a couple of round of raising. How much are you aiming for the next round, and are you nervous?
You know, I've really changed perspective on the raising world. I was new to startups. Now I've, like, as you saw, have a few battle scars from it. Next year, we'll probably be looking to raise between 2 and 2.5 mil. I'm a lot less nervous now because, you know, we've got this far with practically nothing, and we've proven the model. We work with some of the coolest brands out there. We've delivered really good results, and we'll be coming to a raise with a lot of like firepower. Well, before that, you know, we kind of just rocked up. The markets are good. Why not go for a raise? And then I didn't understand VC dynamics before. And once you start understanding how their funds work, the dilution periods of their funds as well, the paybacks, then you start understanding how to position yourself a lot better for rounds.
Can we call that side the unglamorous side of startups? What's the reality of what people think it is to found a startup? Well, the fiction vs the reality that you lived.
So first of all, like whenever someone tries to tell me they want to start a startup, I will usually try to talk them out of it, not from like being mean.
Machiavellian perspective.
Not so much, but because like if it's more of a test, right? If I'm talking them out of it and immediately they'll be like, oh, actually, I don't want to be working 15 hours every day, for the next couple of years, then that already shows that you give up easily. If I tell you you're going to be working this much, but you reply with, I don't care, I want to, then that's almost like a validation to the character. Because if I try to talk you out of it, but you're headstrong, then that's really one of the qualities that you need for it. And truth is that like, it makes no sense to do a startup. If you think about it, you work 3 times as much, you earn a tenth less, you're a lot more stressed. None of that part makes sense. The only way you justify it to yourself is because you're so committed to something that you so truly believe in that you're okay with all of that. And so that's the ugly part of a startup. It's not what you see on LinkedIn. It's not what you see these massive rounds. And also massive round, excuse my French, but doesn't mean shit, like the guy from Gorillas sold at over $1 billion. He got a few mil in exit because he had diluted himself so much. So they don't mean much. So the truth is that startups are a lot of hard work. And that's as blunt as it can be.
You've got a lot of wisdom under you. I'm not sure where you acquired that. Maybe your parents, or just all your life experience. It's really interesting to hear you. Couple of comments on the topic. Don't start a startup if you're normal. If your parents told you to go to Harvard and get a 9 to 5 and that nice salary, you're not made for that game. For me, startups makes total sense because I would rather kill myself than to have an incompetent person give me orders. That's one. Two, if you do what you love, so you have, your startup, you're funded. So me, it's more bootstrapped and scale and compound effect is what I'm aiming for. I'm still reaching for the billions and the trillions, just that it will take a while. And I fucking love what I do, man. Like to talk with people like you, get insights and so forth. It's just fun. And I can do 24 hours of that. Actually, I'm going to announce the world Guinness record next Monday of doing, I think, 100 pods in one day with CEOs, founders. But yeah, you're totally right. And not just the being headstrong, but if you ask them that question, the hard challenging thing is that if you tell them to work 16 hours on something they don't like, they might not be able to handle that pain. Just that most people, they don't know that work can be fun, So how do you, last question for you, how do you make work fun on your side? How do you close that serotonin loop?
But truth is it's not always fun, There are days.
But how do you convert pain into fun? Because I certainly did that on my side, and you did too.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think it's always fun. I think it's discipline with it. Like the other day, just for the new tech that we're building, I had to categorize over 3,000 different labels. That was not fun. That was not fun in the slightest. Getting told no by over like 100 VCs, that is not fun. When you're doing everything from like socials to sales to fundraising to tech, sometimes you're like, this is not fun. But then you remember that you have a journey to go on and you have to stay disciplined. And it's like, just sit down, do it fast, you'll be done with it. Then you can do what you like. So for me, what's fun is the accomplishment of something. It's like, I did that. I sat down, did a day, banged down my 3,000 labels. That wasn't fun. But then I was like, cool, I did it. That feels good. On to the next one. It's just that if you break it down in the right way, you have a constant set of accomplishments. What's hard is to face things. So like, say you failed a VC round. All right, I'm going to need to pick myself up again, Doesn't matter how I feel because that's not going to change anything in my work. That's not going to improve anything. The very next day, I need to get back to my desk, keep going. Oh, I've just accomplished something new. Now I'm back and my serotonin's out again. My dopamine's back. So that's how you just have to have the discipline to then move on and achieve something.
Love it, dude. Love the discipline. And yeah, I'm in the trenches with you. So no worries. You're good. You're young also. You'll be very successful if you keep on thinking that way. Believe me on that. Next time I'm around London, let's go for a roll. What belt are you in jiu-jitsu?
Just a blue belt.
Well, it's still better than a white belt, which is me. I haven't started yet, but let's go roll. You can teach me a couple of techniques, and we'll have sushi afterwards. Where can people find out more about you and your company?
LinkedIn, I reply loads. Draw a message. I always reply.